Continuing with Chamishi, we now get to the business deal that Yaakov Avinu makes with Lavan, and he explains that after all, I've been working so much for you, and it's time that I receive my schar, my reward. And we have the whole episode with the brown speckled dotted cows flock, and the story which puzzles many of us and is really difficult to understand even on its surface level. But nonetheless, what happens causes Lavan to get upset, causes the Bnei Lavan to get upset, and as a result, ensues in a conversation between Yaakov Avinu and Kadosh Baruch Hu, and Hashem telling Yaakov it's time to go back home. And as Yaakov is preparing to go, on his way out, he stops by Rachel and Leah to see if they are going to be joining him back on their return to Eretz Yisrael. And he says the pasuk, Vayishlach Yaakov Vayikra LeRachel UleLeah Hasada El Tzono, that they speak in the field. The Yaakov Avinu consults with Rachel and Leah, and it's specifically out in the field, which the Rabbi Menachem B. Sachs, the Tzadik Levracha, in his Sefer Menachem Tzion, points out that if there's a fascinating takeaway from the fact of the location of this conversation, because after all, he explains that a field is an open space without limits, without the confinement of the Dalit Posle, Dalit Solim of a room, four walls of a room. He explains that the airspace, being able to have a conversation, giving advice in such an open space, he says, has a unique power to it. In fact, he quotes a Gemara that refers to this idea that advice should be given in an open space in a field. And he says that that actually has an influence on its ability to resonate with the person, and then being able to see a larger picture, not to be confined within our walls. In fact, he says that's what it means when we say during the Yom Noraim season, we say, Al Chet Shechatanu. Excuse me, he says that we say, Al Chet Shechatanu Lefanecha B'tzaras Ayin. We had narrow vision, that there's meant to be, and whether it's meant figuratively or literally, nonetheless, the idea here that we're not meant to be B'tzaras Ayin, we're not meant to be in confined spaces, in a confined space in our minds. We are meant to be able to think biravacha, with wide open imagination, with consideration of what is going to be the impact beyond our Dalit Ksalim, our four immediate walls, to be looking down the line of Jewish history, to be looking at all of the factors, to be able to resonate in that realm that this advice and this conversation takes place. And he says, and that's the significant conversation that took place between Yaakov and Rachel and Leah, which obviously was a huge turning point in the rest of the story of Jewish history, that they were able to say, hold on, we're going to come with you. What are we staying here for? We're going to recognize, not to be caught up in this is my home and this is my family, but be able to say, I see where staying here is going to cause, and I see where going with you, Yaakov, is going to result in. And they were able to have that perspective, that broader perspective, not to be bitzaras ayin, not to be narrow-minded, but to be able to see the broader picture, the broader factors, and to be able to go ahead and go with Yaakov, which obviously had tremendous ramifications for the rest of Jewish history.